In this session, I will look into how we can estimate the completion time of the project and the amount the project will cost when it is completed. We can estimate the time to complete using earned value, and we can use the estimate at completion, which means the final cost when the project is completed. We have different types of cost estimates. The first one is the project manager's estimate. Then we have the mathematical estimate, which is also called the optimistic estimate. We have the estimate based on the CPI or probable estimate, the estimate based on the CSI or the pessimistic estimate, and then we will look into some other parameters related to cost that can be used when we are using earned value management. One parameter which could be very interesting to understand is to estimate the time when the project will be completed. We can start from the planned value curve and the earned value at a specific period, and then use that value to extrapolate. Now here at period 10, the project would be completed. We would have a planned value of 150, which is in this case also the budget at completion, and we would have an earned value of 100. Now let's assume that we continue working on the project with the same SPI, the same performance, the same proportion related to the planned value. And we continue working on the project at the same rate and create deliverables at the same rate. So we can draw the line from the start and continue that line until we reach the budget at completion or the planned value where we have the total budget or all the deliverables created, which means when we reach that point, we earn the value of all the deliverables, which is also the completion of the project. So in our example, when the earned value is equal to the budget at completion, all the work is finished and we see that the intersection happens when the time is equal to 15. So we can deduct from this information that when we continue creating deliverables at the same rate, the project will be finished after 15 periods. We add 5 periods to the original time estimate. Now, this is not always the best way to do it. I'm still convinced that the best way to evaluate the progress of a project is to look at the Gantt chart. But here we can use this parameter and see what is happening. And in one of the following slides, I will combine this with the cost, the actual cost, and how we can estimate the actual cost at completion or the estimate at completion of the project. The first estimate related to cost is the project manager's estimate. The project manager is the main authority related to the project, and his or her estimate should be valued. The project manager is the best placed person to evaluate the project and to see what the schedule and cost position really are. Unfortunately, in some cases, this estimate may not be very trustworthy and has to be challenged. We have other estimates that we can use to compare the project manager's estimate with, and when there is doubt, we always can ask the project manager to explain why the estimate is different from what we might expect. The mathematical estimate, or also called the optimistic estimate, is an estimate where we consider that the continuation of the project after our reporting period will be as planned. It means that the cost variance will be equal to 0 and the CPI from here on will be equal to 1. When we put that in calculation, we say that the estimate at completion, the mathematical estimate, is equal to the actual cost plus the back minus the earned value. And the back minus the earned value is the work that still has to be completed. It's the earned value that we still have to earn. It does not take into account past performance, and this is what we call an optimistic estimate. So we expect the project will be performing better. We can also use the CPI, and we can have a look first at the graph. The first part of the graph are the blue and the red curve. With the red curve, we found when the project would end. Now we can draw the actual cost for period 10, which is estimated at 120, and we assume that the future performance will be equal to the past performance, so we can extrapolate that point until we reach the end date of the project, period 15. And in this case, we will find that the project will be finished at period 15 and will cost 180k. The formula is also quite simple. The estimate at completion CPI is equal to the actual cost plus the back minus the earned value divided by the CPI. So we assume that the remaining work, back minus earned value, is executed with the same rate as before. We just continue overspending as we did before. This is also considered to be the probable estimate. We know this from experience, and also we'll see that it's typically the intermediate value when we calculate the estimates at completion. The final estimate is based on the CSI, and we also call it the pessimistic estimate. Now we estimate that the future performance of the project is considered to be as the combined past performance of schedule and cost, hence the CSI. So the estimate at completion with CSI is equal to the actual cost plus the budget at completion minus the earned value divided by the CSI. This is the pessimistic estimate of the project. There are some other parameters you may encounter when you're doing earned value management, and these parameters relate to cost. First of all, there is the 3-period CPI, which is the division of the 3 last earned value parameters by the 3 last actual costs. It gives you an average CPI over the last 3 periods. With that CPI, it's possible to calculate the estimate at completion for the last 3 periods, which is equal to the actual cost plus the budget at completion minus earned value divided by CPI index 3. There is also a weighted formula for the estimate at completion, which is in fact calculated by multiplying the CPI with 0.8 and the SPI with 0.2. It's a weighted average of CPI and SPI, which replaces the CPI or the CSI coefficient for calculating the estimate at completion. So in this case, we have the actual cost plus the back minus earned value divided by the weighted parameter, 80% for the CPI and 20% for the SPI. There is also the variance at completion. The variance at completion is the difference between the budget at completion minus the estimate at completion. It is clear when the variance at completion is negative, our project is above budget. A lot of new formulas, a lot of exciting things, and we will look at those in our project Frisbee. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.